Well, hello my fluff chucking chums, and welcome to another video on the channel. If you're new to the channel, welcome. If you've been watching everything that I've done in the past year or so, thank you very much. And at this point, with that in mind, I'd also like to say thank you very much for everybody who's contributed to me having my 1,000 subscribers, which is fantastic. I'm really shocked about that. The channel is basically just something that I do in my spare time to try and help people who are new to the sport, new to fly fishing, get some information that they may not be able to get a hold of elsewhere. So it is really, really good. I'm very pleased with it. Can't really ask for more. I'm quite chuffed. So what I'm going to do, because of that, at some point in the next few weeks, I will arrange a giveaway. And what I'm going to give away is one of my fly collections here. It's not like there's a lot in there because it's mainly buzzers and nymphs. It's an early season box. You've got some buzzers in there, some cormorants and some shipments, just to help you on your way the coming months. So there's that. I'm also going to give away some of my sinkened, or I don't know if you can say that actually. What I call it, we'll call it Vegas mud after Ronnie Vegas. If you've been watching the channel, you know who Ronnie Vegas is. And on top of that, I'm also going to send out a sticker for your tackle box. Nice little shiny sticker. It's waterproof, easy to put on. Jobs are good, and just decorate one of those little dents you've got on your box or a scratch. Be fantastic. What I wanted to talk about today was flies. Now we all carry flies in various guises. We've all got our favourites. We've all got our go-tos. But the one thing that I've noticed myself and with other anglers is we all tend to carry too many. And it's a simple fact. I mean, myself, just a sample of what I carry in my box. I carry this double-sided nymph box and dries. On top of that, I carry my lure box, which has got all my favourite lures in, everything that I use. And another lure box, which is pretty empty because I haven't stocked it up yet. But basically, there is favourites in there that I wouldn't be without. But there's also a lot of flies in these boxes which are unnecessary. They're just there, and I just carry so much that I get tired of it. You end up adding more to your box. Your box gets heavier if you use a tackle box or tackle bag. Through the winter months, I tend to use my tackle box a lot more for waterproof, you know, just to keep everything nice and tidy as well. And I do take a lot, flasks, some food, etc. if you're going to have a day on the water. But we all seem to be guilty of carrying way too much. So, as a beginner to the sport especially, if it's a minefield anyway. There's so many things to think about. You don't know what a fly pattern is called. You don't know what you might need. You don't know anything about entomology, which to anybody new is the study of the insects and nymphs, etc. and adult midges that hatch on still waters, basically everything the trout eats. Knowledge like that, minefield. So on top of all that, why would you want to carry crap loads of stuff in your box just to confuse you even more? So what we're going to look at first is the flies and which patterns that you definitely need and the ones that you probably don't need to even think about as a beginner. So let's get started with that. So as a no-nonsense approach as a beginner, my advice, and my advice only, would be that you need to have a small selection of buzzers. You need to have a small selection of nymphs. You need to have a small selection of lures and a small selection of dry flies. Now, these are 4 categories, 4 patterns that you must have. There are others, but we're not going to go into that. This is a no-nonsense first approach to fly fishing. So you're going to need those buzzers, nymphs, dries and lures. Next little tip that I'm going to give you is when it comes to colour, and I'm sure that most even experienced anglers will agree, you're going to need black flies, olive flies, red flies and white flies. Now I know there's more, there is more, but as I said, this is a no-nonsense approach to what, if I had to say to somebody, this is what you need, all you need, this is what I would say. So we've got our buzzers first. You're going to need a selection of buzzers in those colours: black, olive, red, which represents bloodworm. You can have white in the buzzer if you like. There is a pattern okie dokies which are quite popular, but again, this is for another video. That's advanced stuff, and these patterns are very situational. Your nymphs, you must have nymphs, definitely two: hare's ear and a pheasant tail nymph. Must have those nymphs. Damsel nymph, yes, as well. So we'll say 3. But you must have those. They are the patterns that you need to be looking at to get into your box. Lures, well, it goes without saying again, all the experienced anglers out there are going to go, yeah, of course it's got to be. You've got to have a cat's whisker. Got to have a cat's whisker. White and green combination, absolutely deadly in the situation when it's, when the fish are on it. Black and green, known as a Viva. Excellent. Olive, which would cover your damsels. So if you didn't have the nymphs, an olive lure would cover damsel nymph. And what else have we got? There is other colours, some bright colours that the fish will go for, but let's just say we had to choose to keep those flies, the fly box down, so we're not carrying too much. That's what I would suggest. Dry flies, something black, definitely. Little black gnats. I will put some pictures up so you can see what I am talking about. But black flies like black hoppers, suspender buzzers, top hats with olive, black. Again, I'm going to put some pictures up so you can see what you would need, and this is going to help you to decide what your first fly box is going to look like. So yeah, you need to make sure you have those. It covers a lot of stages in the insect's life. Buzzers at the beginning, your bloodworms, buzzers, and then your emergers, dry on the top. The lures, in honesty, not always the case, but the lures will be perfect for freshly stocked fish. If you find the stillwater that your fisher's just had fish put in a few days ago in any amount, they will take, let's be honest, they'll take anything. They'll take a piece of silver paper on a hook. They'll take a bare hook. I've seen it happen. Stock fish, there's no skill in stock fishing, but I think fishing for stock fish, especially for a beginner, breeds confidence. You go out, you're going to catch fish, you're going to feel good about it, and you're going to enjoy it, which is what is the main thing. And it's just going to be a great day for you. So catching the stockfish is important. As you progress and you become more of an advanced angler, you may not want to target the stockfish. You may want to go after the wised up fish, the fish that have seen all colours of lures, all sizes. The ones that are a little bit more wary can be difficult to catch, and they can also be larger fish because they've grown on, eating naturally from the lake. Again, a lot of variables, but I'm not going to get complex. So that's my first step to no nonsense, the flies that you would need. Now, the first method for fishing these flies is normally going to be on a floating line. You're going to cut your teeth on a floating line as a beginner. It's such a versatile line. You can fish the buzzers on it, you can fish the nymphs on it, you can fish the dries. Obviously, mainly you'll be fishing dries on a floating line. You can also fish the lures on a floating line. It presents the fly a depth, I would say it's good for depths between, from the surface to about 3-4 feet. But after that, you're going to have to start changing lines. But again, that's advanced. So let's just talk about the floating line. So standard floating line, it basically does exactly what it says on the tin. It's a floating line. It's a hollow line. It will float from the end of your reel to the end of the line, anywhere you go. Sometimes they do sink a little bit at the end, but you can treat them with a treatment which I'm going to deal with in future videos. So a floating line will cover you for the majority of all of your fishing. If you're on a budget, just buy a floating line. You can always buy your tip sections. You can always buy intermediate tips, which you can attach to the line, which is a cheap way of achieving a different plane when you're bringing the fish back and different fly back, and different depths. You can put a tippet on, which is a kind of a weighted tippet, which will bring it down. But a floating line to start with, especially if you're on a budget, just get that. You can pull the lures with it. You can slowly nymph with it, and you're fishing in the surface. And to be honest, in the summer months, spring to summer months, the fish are normally high anyway, so there will be like a foot under the surface. So floating line is really going to be successful for you in many occasions. But after that, when you get more into it, you are going to change lines, and you're going to want an intermediate line, a slow sink line, a sinking line. Again, I'll cover that. I think I've covered it in an old video. I can't remember how in depth I've gone in. I'll have to have a look, but I can do another video on lines if that's going to be helpful for beginners. As in anything that I'm doing here, anything that I'm talking about, if there's any questions that you have, please put it into the comments section and I will answer everything. I'm not an expert, but I'll answer everything with the knowledge that I have to hopefully help you. Another method with the floating line is very controversial. I don't know why. It really annoys me when people get on the bandwagon about it, but it is fishing with bungs. Now, a bung, yes, let's get straight to it. Let's not beat about the bush. No nonsense. Just, I don't want to faff around it. A bung is technically a float. Boom. It's a little float, and it suspends flies at a set depth for you, which you couldn't do with the fly line itself, because you can use this on a static approach and keep a fly exactly at the depth you want, exactly in the position that you want it. They come in various guises. You can see top brand there, which is, I'm not sponsored by them, but that's Ferreo. They do a nice bung. I've also got some that I've modified myself, which are just the ones with the little rubber in, but I've actually fixed in a hook so I can use it as a deadly trout weapon, really, because the amount of times that you'll find beginners and experienced, like you've seen it, the trout will come up and try and take the bung. Sometimes it pays to have one with a little sting in it, give the trout a little surprise. Happy days. Anyway, so the bung, controversial to some, not controversial to me. I'll put it out there. I don't care what anybody says. It's a valid method. You will have people saying to you, even as a beginner, you may get some stick for using these. People might say, that's not fly fishing, it's float fishing. Absolute rubbish. It's not float fishing. It's been used for years. It's been used on the rivers. It's used in America. The Canadians use it a lot. It's a method. So if somebody says to you, it's not fly fishing, yes, it is fly fishing, but it's a different method of fly fishing. Basically, it's a static approach method. You're still using a fly on the end. Yes, granted, some of them are quite ugly and they don't look anything like anything the trout would ever eat, but they work. But at the end of the day, you're presenting a fly. A fly is something that's presented on a hook to either imitate a natural food source or to, how can I put it, to engage the fish so that they'll attack it. Hence taking the hook, which catches you a fish and puts it on the bank. So I'm sorry if I'm upsetting anybody, but when it comes to bung fishing, I really don't care. It's a method. It's a very good method, and it can be really successful on the day. So as a beginner, and especially elderly as well, if you're an elderly person and you're having trouble with casting a lot all day, aches and pains, etc., the bung's brilliant. You just pop it out there and just wait until the fish comes and has a look at it. You just experiment, change your flies around until something has a go at that. And if that suits you, that's fantastic. It's definitely a method. It's a good method. I don't care about the naysayers who say it's not fly fishing. I'm not really interested. To me, it catches fish. So definitely something to consider. They don't cost you a lot. Easy to set up. I'll quite happily do yet another video on the bung. I have done one in the past that you can check out. Letting you know how to set these up. But as a beginner, brilliant method to get you into fish. And elderly, if you're struggling, you can't cast all day, pop one of these out and fish and enjoy yourself. Secret flies. I just wanted to talk about this very briefly. Competition anglers closely guard patterns that they have that seem to be really successful for them, which is great. And a lot of regular anglers hear rumours and myths and suspicions about these magical flies that the comp anglers are using. Well, first bit of advice I'm going to give you just starting, getting into the sport, forget about all that. Don't listen to any of it, because it doesn't affect you in your catching ability. A lot of the things that you don't realise is certain flies have to be fished a certain way to produce goods anyway. And you could find yourself handed down a fly that the next person to you is absolutely slaying the fish on. They can give that fly to you. You can fish it and not catch anything. Reason is because there is some flies, a lot of flies, need to be fished a certain way to agitate the fish into taking it or to be presented properly, etc. So the first thing I want to say to you is don't get wrapped up in myths regarding these flies that are come down from the Himalayas or something and that superb flies with magical mystical powers. It doesn't happen like that. There has been flies in the past that have been super successful for myself, that have been passed down to me from a competition angler, and yes, they have worked, but I've had to be told how to fish those flies to get the best out of them. So what you're best off doing as a beginner is just fishing with the fly patterns that will get you started, that are common known, cat's whiskers, black rabbits, any type of zonker. And then when you go into natural stuff, a black buzzer, olive buzzer, nice and plain, you will catch fish. It's all about confidence. It's not something that just happens. You don't get a magical fly and catch fish. It can happen rarely, where someone, if the fish are really on a colour or a pattern, someone hands you one, you chuck it out and you might get into a fish. But in the main, make your own way in fishing. Find your own patterns that you're confident with, and I guarantee that you'll catch a lot of fish on them. And finally, I just want to wrap this video up by letting you know what I think, I'm definitely sure was my favourite fly of 2021. I caught a lot of fish on this fly. It's nothing special. It's my own tie-in, but it's not a super special fly, and it's certainly not a secret. So let me show you this, if I can just get one out of my box for you. But it was hands down the best fly throughout the year. It was the most consistent fly. I've got them all bunched up here, I can't even get one out. It was the most consistent fly of the entire season, through the summer, winter. Let's try and get one so you can have a look at it. And this is my little mini black snake. See that? That fly caught more fish for me last year than probably any other fly in my box. Now, if someone had handed that to me, just going back to what I was saying before, if someone handed one of these to me and said, there you go, fish that, and I was on a floating line, I probably wouldn't catch much on it, to be fair, especially not in the winter months when the fish are a little bit deeper. But you put something like this fly, match this up with a sink tip, intermediate or sinking line, dye 3, dye 5, these things can be absolutely lethal. The key to this pattern is how you fish it. Now, some days the fish will want it slow, and sometimes they'll want it a little bit fast, or sometimes they'll just want it to drop. Pause, little few pulls. You've got to chop and change. But this is the point I'm trying to make, is some patterns are really effective, but you have to work at them to get the best out of them. So as I say, this fly, there's various ways to use it when the condition suits, and it will put fish in the bag. At the end of the day, it's just a black pattern. It's quite plain, apart from the little hot spot on the head, but it's very plain. And you will come to find, the more that you fish, plain patterns are super effective. Now, again, I want to go right back to the start of this video. There's no point in having thousands of flies in your box that are slight variations on this theme. Let's say you had a black fly in your box like this, but it had a orange hotspot. Yeah, you can do that if you want. Sometimes these little things can make a difference on the day, but what we're talking about here is going out with the minimum, going out with the minimum to get the maximum. That's what I'm trying to say. So you go out with dark patterns, black, olive. There is also an olive version of this. I don't think I have one tied up because my boxes have been raided, which often happens. Everybody raids my fly box. I tie flies for people and their boxes are beautiful and full. My boxes are absolutely empty because I've either give some away or I've used them all, or I just haven't had time to tie myself any. So I'm sure all you fly tiers out there will definitely sympathise with us on that one. But basically just this one, for example, just little olive patterns. So, you know, black, olive, that's all you really need. There's no point in taking a lot of flies out on the bank, and I promise you this year that I'm definitely going to myself aim, can't get this back in, I stuck in my finger. I'm definitely going to aim towards that this year, to try and cut back on my gear, so I spend more time fishing and less time looking through my box pondering on what I'm going to put on, because I can guarantee that at the end of the session, the only thing that'll be on my fly patch, it'll be all of the flies that I have faith in, that I've tried. There is the odd exception on a day where you may take what I would call a lottery in your box and just say, oh, I've never tried that, I'll put that on, and that could turn out to be a fantastic day. It does happen. It's one of those weird fishy sense things that you get when you're on the bank. But in the main, me personally, I want this season to try and get out there a lot later and spend more time actually concentrating on using the pattern to its potential than quickly changing to something that I think may work. I hope that makes sense. On that note as well, there will be some changes to the channel this year. I am going to do some lure fishing, a little bit of lure fishing. I am going to try and get some fly fishing done on the coastline as well when conditions dictate. So just a little change to the channel, which I think will be really good fun. But I do want to bring a lot of content to the channel. I am aiming at beginners a lot, but none of us know everything, and I watch all the channels. I'd just like to give a shout out to Sean Fishers, one of my friends who's got a channel on here. Really good guy, very interesting theories that he has. He's good to watch. Get yourself watching him. It's Sean Fishers on YouTube. Have a look at Sean's stuff. Absolutely cracking content, cracking guy. But that about wraps it up. I'd like to, once more before I go, just thank everybody who's subscribed. And if you haven't, please click that like and subscribe. So when I do my future content, you get notified of that. But it would be nice. We're all one big family of fishermen. That's the way I look at it. And if we help each other out, it just makes it more fun. I've met some fantastic people through this sport, and it's been magical. And I want to continue as long as I can. But thank you very much. Thank you for watching. I hope you've enjoyed it. Have a lovely day and lovely night whenever you're watching this, and see you in the next one. Bye now.